So we jump in, you guys. We put our heads under the water. The top 2 or 3 feet are just brown.
It was truly one of the most feelings I think I've ever felt in my life.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Bali International Airport. We've had quite an eventful morning, you guys. We woke up to a text message from AirAsia telling us that our flight had been canceled, followed by another text message saying that we had been rebooked onto a new flight, followed by another text message saying that that flight had been delayed twice already. So that's okay. We're grateful that we got the text messages before we ever left our hotel because we were able to have a slow morning. We got a little workout in, got a little breakfast, took the Harley back, made it, yes, that was actually a very sad moment, made it all the way here to the airport, only to find out that we have been delayed yet again, one more time. So we're currently sitting here at the airport. This airport is like really nice. When we flew in, you didn't really see that much.
I feel like it's always a blur. When you get to an airport, you just get out. And you don't remember what it has.
Well, and then you just go through customs and then you're just like out. Like we definitely did not see this part of the airport, and this part is like beautiful. I feel like it's maybe new. I don't know. Anyway, we're sitting here at the airport ready and waiting for whenever they decide they want to take us to our next destination.
After leaving the beautiful Moonduke Moating Plantation, we came back to the southern side of Bali to catch this flight.
But before we said goodbye to Bali, there was one more thing that we really wanted to do that we thought would be so epic and was definitely on our Bali bucket list. We were very excited. We gave ourselves an extra day so that we could go on this wonderful excursion, and boy was it an excursion.
Or lack thereof.
It was an adventure nonetheless. Not the adventure we were looking for or actually even booked, but an adventure nonetheless.
Guys, there's a lot to recap about that excursion we really want to share with you, but we have not had time yet. It's kind of been a whirlwind, returning the Harley, getting back down here to the airport, etc. So we're gonna fill you in on all of that when we get to our next destination.
To tell you all about our wonderful excursions. Unfortunately, we did not make it to our next destination until very late into the night, or early into the morning, if you will, after canceled flights and like what felt like 6 different delays. We finally made it on the plane. Yay!
It took so long.
It took so long. And then once we got on the plane, I feel like we sat there for like another 45 minutes while they were trying to figure something out. I don't know, these guys in vests just kept running up and down the aisles with like a bunch of paperwork and clipboards. We finally took off. We made it. Very excited. We got off the plane and we encountered truly what was the longest customs line I think I've ever seen. And there were 2 of them.
And our backpacks are heavy.
If there's a chiropractor out there that was to lift up our backpacks, he would tell us that we are probably doing so much damage to our back. Truth is, they're on our suitcases a lot. Luckily, they kind of like sit on our suitcases and it's great. But a lot of times we don't have our roller suitcases through the airport. Anyway, we were standing there with our heavy backpacks. There was 2 customs line and each of them were outrageously long and surprisingly perfectly even. That like was so shocking to me because I'm like the type of person where I'm like, okay, which line? You go stand in this line, I'll stand in this line. They were literally like dead even.
I feel like we play that game all the time. That one's shorter,
Oh, yeah.
go get in it, we'll go get in it. And then the other one turns out to be way shorter.
I know.
And
Well,
then
we
bounce
split
back.
up a lot.
But you guys, we have arrived in our next country. Stay tuned because we're not telling you where we are just yet. We have to recap something very important that has not gotten the time it deserves yet from our final day in Bali.
You know, we get a lot of questions about traveling and what it's really like and this, that, and the other and everything that you do and oh my gosh, this is so amazing, that's amazing. And the truth is, it is. We know we are very very incredibly blessed, and for that we are forever grateful. However, I will say, traveling full-time, we've been doing this for a little over 7 months now, full-time, haven't gone home, and the truth is, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's really not. We've had a lot of ups, and we've had a lot of downs. I wouldn't even say that our final day in Bali, the excursion we went on and then followed immediately by the travel day to our next destination, was like a huge down, as much as it was more just like a comical situation. The truth is it very much so was not anything that we thought it was going to be. Thankfully, I feel like we were laughing most of the time through it.
So our final day in Bali, we had just ridden down on the Harley from Munduk back to the southern part of Bali, and there was one last thing we really wanted to squeeze in before we left the island, and that was swimming with manta rays. There are 2 smaller islands off the coast of Bali where there are manta rays, and these things are massive. They supposedly have like 9-10 foot wingspans. You can get in the water, snorkel down, swim with them. They're just gentle giants of the sea. We really wanted to make this happen, so when we got back down, we booked a tour to head out and swim with the manta rays.
Now keep in mind, the tour that we booked was specifically called and specifically for swimming with the manta rays.
Naturally, that's the one I wanted.
Obviously, that's what we wanted to do and what we thought we were going to be getting.
So the morning of the tour, we are absolutely stoked. We have an early wake-up call because we had to get down to the harbor by a certain time. I had my GoPro dry bag all packed, ready to go. So stoked to film this, and we headed out. We hopped on the Harley, headed over to the harbor in a little bit of a rainstorm, but you know, whatever, it's Bali. The rain comes and goes so fast. We hooked up with the tour group there, hopped on a ferry, rode across the sea out to the island where we were starting the tour.
We hop in these little trucks, they take us over to this little restaurant, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. Then we go to the back of this restaurant, and then we hop on the snorkeling boat that's supposed to take you to 2 manta ray spots that are going to be epic, and we're swimming with manta rays.
Today, we are in search of manta rays. We hear that they hang out here, and you're able to swim with them. So we've caught a break in the weather right now. It is beautiful out. We've just boarded our boat, and we are gonna head out to the waters and see what we can find.
This whole time, we're swimming with manta rays. It's talked about, it's a thing, okay? Everyone's saying it, everyone knows it, it's what we're doing, okay? So we get on the boat, we're pulling away from the dock to the point where, like, you know, we're not going back now, we're on the boat, everyone's on the boat. The only way to get back is if you jump off and swim back. We get out of the little mangroves, which actually the mangroves were really cool, into the bay. That's when the tour guide stands up and starts to kind of introduce himself and kind of give a rundown of what we will be doing that day. Very normal, very typical. He starts by telling us his name, you know, yada yada yada. He's a great guy, super nice. And then he tells us that we will not be swimming with manta rays.
No manta rays.
Literally, this whole time, every tour guide that we had talked to up until then, every worker that we had talked to, everybody, we were swimming with manta rays. And then the tour guide on the boat tells us once we've left, and nobody can go back at this point unless you swim back, that we are not swimming with manta rays. And everyone's like a little confused.
Well, why are we here?
Isn't that the whole point of this tour? Like, what are you guys gonna do? And I was like, okay, well, maybe we're just not swimming with the manta rays first. Maybe they're saving that for later. No. He said, we're not swimming with manta rays. We are literally not going to the places that the manta rays are at.
Now guys, I love snorkeling. I am an avid snorkeler.
He's a great
I don't know what
snorkeler.
it is about it. I just love it. I love getting in the water. I love swimming around. We've obviously done it a ton in our lifetime, but we really wanted to do it with the manta rays. Just going to some other snorkeling spots wasn't really exciting me in that moment. I wanted to go with the manta rays.
That's true. We've been very blessed to snorkel in some of probably the most epic locations ever, and dive. Daniel and I love scuba diving. We're big scuba divers. We've been fortunate enough to snorkel and dive in some incredible places, but today in Bali, our last day, we had our heart set on freely swimming with the manta rays. And he straight up told us, we're not going to Manta Ray Bay. We're not swimming with manta rays.
Guys, it gets even better though. So we head out to our first snorkel spot. He said we're going to 3 different spots that day, and the first one was honestly beautiful. We jumped in the water. It was right up against Nusa Penida, the island off the coast of Bali. Very sharp cliff and a drop off out to the side. It was beautiful. Tons of coral, clear water. So we're swimming, diving, doing all those things, and the current just kind of takes you right down the island, which is always cool. You don't have to do any work at all. You just kind of sit there and it just moves you along. You look at the beautiful scenery below the water. You've dived ride down and kick a little bit and you feel like you're going 50 miles an hour because you have the current pushing you with your fins. It was awesome. Very beautiful spot for the first snorkel.
And we were like, okay, this is great. You know, whatever. We'll just get some really fun snorkeling. You know, it'll be great. It's a fun day. We're out on the water. The sun kind of finally started to come out after it had been pouring forever. And we were like, this is great. Whatever.
I gotta say, the whole time we were there at the first spot, I'm still looking for manta rays. I'm kind of like, is this guy messing with me?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking for manta rays, and it's like, no, there's a few fish,
Yeah,
but
I
that's
was gonna
about
say,
it.
there was actually very few fish even there. It was pretty much just looking at like beautiful coral and things, but it was still beautiful. And we were like, okay, great. The water's clear. It's beautiful. This is great. Let's just keep going. This will be, you know, our fun last day in Bali. We're swimming in the ocean. Can't complain. So we keep going.
So we hop back on the boat and they tell us we're heading to spot number 2. And it took us all of about 3 minutes going down the coast a little bit to reach spot number 2.
3 minutes is generous. I think had we kept swimming with the current in the water, we probably could have gotten there in 5 minutes. We hop in the water and instantly, you guys know like when there's gasoline and water, it makes the water blurry. And I'm in the water and I'm swimming around and I'm like, I can't see super well. Like, are my eyes blurry? Like, are my goggles foggy? Like, what's going on? So I'm rubbing my goggles, I come out, I like clear my mask, I look, and everything's like fine. And I go back in and I'm like, do you feel like it's like blurry? Like, do you feel like we're just literally swimming in gasoline right now?
Like just breathing through my snorkel, I felt like I was breathing in fumes and stuff.
That was the first time I feel like we've ever experienced anything like that. So not only are we kind of, you know, swimming in some fumes and gasoline and things, there was a lot of like garbage in the water, and I like started picking up some of the garbage.
You did. You started.
I totally did. I
handfuls.
started like picking up like some of the like the plastic bags and things, and I took them back to the boat, and the guy just tossed them on the boat, and unfortunately I feared they might have just blown out again. He didn't seem too concerned about it. But we will say, with that being said, we did see a turtle. We did. We swam literally
cool.
like right up to the turtle. He was beautiful. He was so mellow, and he was great. We did see a turtle amongst some garbage and gasoline. So some of you might be thinking like, okay, what's so wrong? Like you swam in 2 beautiful spots that were super clear, beautiful water.
And a turtle.
And you saw a turtle and some beautiful coral. Like, what's so bad about this? Well, it gets worse, okay? Let's take you to spot number 3.
So after spot number 2, again, we hop back in the boat and we ride for maybe 2-3 minutes to the next spot. And I was immediately like, is this really the next snorkel spot? Because I'm looking around and there's a lot of areas that are roped off that are clearly fish farms or something like that. And we're wondering, this can't be the next spot. It's so close to these fish farms. The water from up here doesn't look that interesting or great.
It's brown. It's brown.
It looks like Coca-Cola. So
I love Coca-Cola.
So we stop.
And you guys, they straight up say, we saved the best for last. They said those words. They said those words.
So the instructors jump in the water. People are starting to jump in the water. Some of the people who are already in there are like turning back and saying to friends and people on the boat, I can't see anything. And so we're like, whoa, what?
These people are jumping in and you can just instantly tell
the shock.
Sheer disappointment, sheer shock, sheer just like, what is this on their faces? And then you can hear them obviously saying it and you're like, okay. So we are like, okay, well, we gotta obviously go see what this is about.
So we jump in, you guys. We put our heads under the water. It's brown.
I think I did let out a little bit of a scream because it was solid Coca-Cola brown, not like muddy water. We're not that close to shore.
I would say the top 2 to 3 feet, when I would film outwards, the top 2 or 3 feet were just brown, like this gradient going from brown down to bluish at the bottom.
More like yellow. I would never say that spot got blue.
And this area had the same sensation of gasoline, something in the water. I don't know what it was. We don't know that it was gasoline, but it was something in the water that was causing fumes about. I don't know what it was. Needless to say, the spot sucked. I was shocked that they would take people and have them snorkel here. It was terrible.
It was truly like probably one of the most feelings I think I've ever felt in my life. And both of us were like, this can't be where they generally take people. It felt so much as though though, they were like, you know, we're not gonna do manta rays today. Who knows why? And so they were just like making up these different spots to take us. And you know what? The first one was a winner. They knocked that one out of the park. It was beautiful. The second one, it was great. We saw a turtle, but that's when it started to just kind of feel like, okay, this feels a little gasoline-y. And then the third one, literally, it was like we were swimming on the cement floor of a gas station. I mean, it was...
Oh my gosh. It was really sad to see. Like, the ocean was just, it was terrible. And I don't know if it was fish farms nearby or what was going on.
Yeah, we don't know if it was coming from the fish farms or if it was just like boats in the water, but it was truly
disgusting.
Filthy.
Well, everyone was kind of sitting there with their heads above water.
Yeah, no one wanted to put their
swim in
heads
this.
down
No
in
one
that.
wanted to go down, but the boat dropped you off and the boat kind of like moves away and then comes back to
And
get
they
you.
were very much like go a certain direction. And so, cause I kind of was like, okay, I'm just gonna like
Stay here.
chill here and bob here until they let me back in the boat. Cause they weren't really letting people back in the boat either, which I felt like was kind of odd. The guy like wouldn't let me chill where I was chilling. He told me I had to keep going. And I was just like, okay, when is this snorkel spot going to be over?
Yeah, I know. And we were even a little concerned. Like, should we even be in this water? I did notice there were a ton of fish around this area.
There was definitely
swimming.
fish and they were all
I was like,
alive.
okay, well, they're not dead.
Needless to say, our last snorkel spot was very unfortunate. Not only because was it gross for all of us to be swimming in, but just unfortunate that that's what the ocean looked like there. Like literally right off of this iconic island in Bali, and it was just that filthy. It honestly made us very, very sad. Luckily, that snorkel spot very quickly ended. I think they could tell that nobody was very interested, nobody really wanted to put their heads down, nobody was really even swimming around. So we all got back in the boat, we headed back through the mangroves, back to the dock, and they had a nice lunch for us. The lunch was great, we sat there, we had some lunch. It was a little interesting. I think like 2 solid hours went by after people were done eating. Everyone kind of started to just lay down and like take naps. And I was like, so what's happens next? Like, can we just go back now? Like, are we stuck here? What's going on? It was this never-ending tour. It got to the point, like I said at the beginning, where Daniel and I just were like laughing because we were just like, what exactly have we gotten ourselves into here? We thought we were going to swim with manta rays, and we are now currently laying in this booth on a towel taking a nap. Like, I think we both fell asleep for at least a solid hour. And you could tell that they were scrambling, just trying to figure out what to do next, because this tour was supposed to go from a certain hour to a certain hour, but because they had taken, you know, the main attractions out of the tour, it was very apparent that they were just scrambling to fill the time.
So after we wake up, we're kind of asking questions. We're like, okay, so are we heading back now? What's going on? And they're like, no, we're gonna go kayaking through the mangroves. And he specifically told us we're gonna go see an anaconda, a crocodile, all this crazy stuff. So we're like, all right, well, that sounds kind of cool. Let's go do it. So we hop in our little kayaks. We're heading through the mangroves. They're really beautiful mangroves.
This is just the tour that keeps on giving all day long. They said muscles in the back, the strong one in the back, so obviously we put Daniel back there. And I'm just enjoying my ride and he's paddling.
So we're paddling down through the mangroves for about 5-6 minutes, and we end up in this massive like kayak traffic jam. It was actually really funny. And at that point he tells us it's time to turn around. We have to go back because the tide is too low.
Well, we made it about 100 yards and then he told us we all had to turn around. So we didn't get to see any anaconda either. We didn't see any wildlife in here.
We're playing bumper boats in this mangrove canal right now.
This is, you guys, we can't make this stuff up.
So we turn around and start heading back in the same direction we came, and it turns out we're just going back to the dock. So that was it. There was no wildlife, there were no animals, no nothing, just a traffic jam of kayaks in the mangroves, which were pretty, but we were kind of dismayed at what was going on this tour.
At the end of the day, this is our way of telling you, no, things are not always sunshine and rainbows, and things definitely do not always go as planned for us traveling full time. Traveling in general, lots of times does not go as planned. There's been so many times that we've gone on different tours and things like that, whale watches, you know, all these different things where, you know, people will say it's wildlife, you're not guaranteed to see something. However, I will say, I don't think you and I have ever been on one of those where we haven't seen the wildlife that we set out to go see. And this time I'm pretty certain we probably would have seen manta rays if they would have taken us to the manta ray spots. We still are so clueless as to why they didn't take us. So everyone who's down in the comments asking, why didn't you just ask them? Why didn't they take you there? Da, 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 da. They didn't have an answer. Nobody knows. We don't know. We don't have an answer. Things oftentimes don't go the way that we thought they were going to, and this was a perfect example of that.
You kind of just have to really learn to roll with things as they go. You know what? Sometimes it's not what you envisioned, but still there's some positive things to it. The turtle was amazing. It was great to get out on boats. We got a lot of sun that day, which was awesome.
That's true, because it had been raining a lot in Bali.
So even though it was not at all the day we expected when we got up that morning, we still had a pretty good time. Guys, we're so stoked to be here in a new country right now. This is our beautiful apartment behind us. Stay tuned to find out where we are. We are obviously going to be doing some amazingly cool things here. So make sure you subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. I'm excited.